The awkward pose, or Utkatasana, in 3 parts, at least from our lineage. That is what we're going to tutorial today. Hi everyone, if this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Jimmy Barkan and I've been teaching hot yoga since 1981. Please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Anytime you're enjoying this content, share it with your friends. The awkward pose. Now, our particular style of yoga, we have 3 parts. There's other styles of yoga where they do the awkward pose with their arms up in the air. Ours is a little different, and we're going to go over the modifications all the way through the advanced amplifications and head over to our Fort Lauderdale studio. So let's get started. So here we are at our Fort Lauderdale studio, and this is the awkward pose in 3 parts. Our Utkatasana, some people nickname it the chair pose. So in our style of yoga, we always initiate from the right side. We're honoring Surya, the sun, represented on the right side. So we can almost call this Surya yoga. So with the help of Yulia, she's going to step out with her right foot to the right, hip width distance, toes and heels are parallel. And when she finishes, she's going to step back in. So she's going to finish the same way she starts. But I'm going to have Yulia face this direction so you can see a better side angle. So face this way, your right foot steps out from the left. So once again, we're hip width apart and the feet are parallel. Don't let them turn out like a duck. You want to keep them nice and straight. Arms up, shoulder height and shoulder width. If I tell Yulia to lift her shoulders up in the air, and now drop her shoulders way down, that's what you want to do, drop those shoulders. And now she can just move her arms independently from the shoulder, and the wrists and the hands are straight. You can see if I were to bend my wrist or cut my hand, the tension is going to go back in my shoulder. So I'm going to keep my hand and my wrist straight so the tension, there's no tension, and I can extend right out through the fingertips. Now this first part, she's going to hold her core, she's going to take a deep breath in, and ideally she wants to keep her back straight, but 99.9% of the people on the planet can't go down with a straight back. So she's going to have to go forward to lower down. So take a deep breath in, using that Ujjayi sound, and down she goes. And as she goes forward, it really unhinges the hips and allows her to get down lower, to eventually the thighs are parallel to the floor. Now what she's got to do here is start to lift from her chest to eventually get her spine in a straight position. But here's a big difference between the Bikram and Barkan world. They want you arching the lower back in Bikram. I don't want you to do that because it's going to put too much pressure on your sacrum. So I'm going to have her scoop the tailbone to protect the lower back and lift from the chest so she can go down even lower, and without coming up, bring her upper body back as much as she can. And the last thing I want you to think about, you can actually lift your toes off the floor to check that the weight's on the heels, but you're still reaching those arms forward at the same time. Take a deep breath in, hold the core, and slowly come up. And that is the first part of the awkward pose. So here's the second part. We're going to go up on our toes as high as we can, all the way up as high as you can on the balls of your feet. Bikram would always say, like a ballerina, but a ballerina goes up on the toes, which he actually could do. We're going to go way up on the toes. Take a deep breath in, hold that core. We're going to come down with a straight back, and we're going to come down just before the hips go below the knees. So a little bit more, right there. But look how straight her back is. Now get way up on those toes, as high as you can. That's it. And hold your core. Now I'm going to have Yulia come back up for a second. A lot of people, especially women, they have different skeletal structure than men. Women's hips are turned out, men's are parallel. So a lot of times, even really advanced women practitioners have a tough time going down with a straight back because their hips are turned out. So what you can do, you can take a deep breath in. If you're not able to come down with a straight back, you can go forward a little bit, come down a little bit, not too much, then come down to your position, and then start bringing your upper body back. You see how her pelvic area tilted? And that will get you to a nice straight back position. Okay, come back up for a second, Yulia. So you can go forward a little bit, just like the first part. That releases a hinge in the hips, and that allows you to go down. And without coming up, bring your body back to eventually get you into a straight back position. Now I'm going to show you one other difference between Bikram and Barkan. They have you go down to where your thighs parallel to the floor. See, in my opinion, if you go too low, you're no longer engaging the quad, and therefore you're not strengthening it. So what's happening? You'll do that. She's going to go up on her toes. She's going to come down all the way to where her thighs parallel to the floor. And now this is just to bring your knees up a little bit. This is a little bit too easy for her. She could stay there much longer. So what I'm going to do instead is have you going down just before the hips go below the knees. So if you have a mirror at home, you can see a little bit of thigh in the front mirror. So up on the toes, hold that core, deep breath in, and down she goes. Right there. So now her hips are a little bit above her knees, and now she's working her quadricep muscles. And that is the second part. Now for the third part. Ilya's going to go on her toes a little bit. Bring your knees together. And imagine somebody's got a string on top of your head. It's pulling it up to the ceiling. So as she comes down with a straight back, your head is being pulled up, so your back is being lengthened. And she's going to stop just before the hips touch the heels. So she's going to hover over. Now you're going to see a lot of people, I'm going to have her do it incorrectly. They're going to go forward and the knees are going to come up. A lot of new people do this. So all you want to do is, it's a pelvic tilt. Your body comes back as the knees come down. Let's go do that again. Forward. Look how the pelvic area tilts. And now in the old days, we would actually sit all the way on the heels. That was the old days. And at one point, somewhere in the 80s, Bikram had us come up just a little bit above the heels. And actually, Julia Prowse, who was on the cover of his first book, was her idea. And that made the legs a lot stronger in this position. So we're going to hover just before the hips are touching the heels. And the thighs are parallel. You don't want to point the knees down to the floor. Bring your knees up again in the air. Bring them up in the air. Unless they're pointed up, then you point them down. But we want the thighs parallel to the floor, not pointing down. Because what happens is, you can come up, Julia. Bikram also says your thighs and your arms are parallel to each other, like a box. Well, if your knees are pointing down, you're no longer parallel. So it's only pointing the knees down if your knees are sticking up. We want the thighs parallel to the floor. Now coming up from the third part, you don't want to just come up. You've got to use the breath, what we call the Ujjayi sound. Taking a deep breath in, you're going to hold the core, you're going to squeeze the thighs together, and that's how you can be most successful coming up with a straight back. Otherwise, you're going to be lurching forward. Have you noticed that in your practice? You're lurching forward to come up because you're not holding the core, not engaging the thighs, and not using the breath. So I'm going to watch Julia. She's going to go down into her position, hover just before the hips go below the knees. She's going to hold the core, hold the thighs together, take a deep breath in and come up with a straight back. And then her right leg comes back to her left. So you're going to hold the core, take that breath, and you'll be a lot more successful in this pose. So that is all three parts of Utkatasana, or the awkward pose. And that's our episode for today. Thank you for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, smash the like button, share it with your friends, and any comments or questions you have or struggles that you have in the posture, put them in the comments below. I get to all the comments. And thank you for joining me. We'll see you at the next video. Bye, everyone.